Good evening, everybody. Namaste. And we are bringing up to you the next topic that was thought about 2 days back. This was in conversation 2 days back when Joanne said something, and that was very interesting. And the question is how to get out of the fear that we have created around the archetype figures like mother-in-law, Ravan, the bad man and the bad lady, or around the witches and the vamps of the world and the other woman and stuff like that. How do you get out of these fear that has been so deep seated into our society? It's become part of the whole. It's like, we are celebrating. It feels more like a funeral, actually. That it feels more like, as long as people have this fear, they will keep tolerating things that they were never supposed to tolerate. They will want to be good all the time. And this good girl or good boy syndrome hasn't really got them the completion and is taking them probably away from their sole purpose. So before I go to any of my panelists, I have a story to say here. I was sitting down in a therapy with a very beautiful young girl. And what she said to me was my heart just moved, that this is also possible. So she's been having a very tough time in her marriage. She's been taking blame for everything. The password for staying back into the family is say a sorry, put your head down, do the work, go say sorry again, take the blame. Go back, say sorry again, take the blame, go back, take sorry again, and say, I'm at fault. Till she couldn't do it anymore after 3 years. Her soul seems to have got bent upside down, and she seems to be having so many, how do you say, dents in her personality and everywhere, because she wants to stick to this good girl syndrome, and she's so fearful what will happen to her. And so this program comes right in the time when, it's very interesting what's happening. Before the program, 12 hours, 24 hours before that become extremely challenging, because it's as if the universe is showing me parts and bits of everything that's going around, and then asking me to make a choice for myself and for how I would like to live my life. So I'm Dr. Anu Mehta, and I would like to now open up the discussion with Sumita. Sumita, if you can introduce who you are, and does this topic ever touch you? Do you ever have a problem that we have just stated, or anything else that you can highlight on this topic? Thank you.
Thank you, Anu, for making me a part of this panel. I'm Sumita Mehndi Ratta. I'm a consultant clinical psychologist and counselor, a remedial tutor. I work with children with different disabilities, and also I'm a practitioner for Matrix and EFT, and also a brain gym movement facilitator and a read on therapist. So, with all the modalities and with the experience of 18 years working in this field, definitely I've come across a lot of people. I would say a lot. I think all of us have got those fears. Let's acknowledge it first, and let's accept it. I also have my own fears. We have a list. Maybe the list is long for somebody, the list is short. But definitely, fear is like a very, I would say, a connection which your brain makes to anything which you don't like. So it's something which starts as an involuntary thing. The moment, even for a child or an adult or a teenager, at any age you can develop this, you can have that, and from there the journey starts, how you take it. So you can expand it to the most, or reduce it and work on it. So I believe in that it's a choice. Fear is there. Either you make it or you leave it, uh, in terms of both doing it. So that's all. Thank you.
Just trying to coordinate two things, and so you could hear the double sound. Okay, that was really interesting, and I love the way it came with the acceptance that none of us have been without fear. So I really, really acknowledge that about you, because despite having 18 years of experience, if you can admit that in front of people, that look, there are still parts of me that are fearful, and I haven't got over it, and I do see that in other people's lives also. That's a very bold statement to make, and not saying, "Hey, I'm complete and I'm here to teach someone something." That's a very humbling place to come from. So let's go over to Joe. Joe, what do you think about the same stuff that we're going to be talking about? What's fear? How do you get out of it? Have you any stories that you get fearful of? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. My background is in teaching. I went from teaching into life coaching, and then about 13 years ago, from life coaching, discovered mental health, EFT, NLP therapy. And a lot of that does revolve around fear. And a few days ago, we were talking about anger and blame. And the realization I had is that anger is a biological mechanism. It's there to support us, it's meant to be there to protect us. But what we've done is distorted it in our minds. And just listening to Samita saying that we all have fear, I think that's also because fear, just like anger, is biological and it's meant to be within us. But again, we've distorted it. And now the things that we're fearing are not just the biological fears that we're meant to be fearing, but a lot of fears, as you described, Annie, come from the archetypes of other people and fearing what people are going to think of us. So I'm really interested in unpacking this today and finding out what are the areas that people fear and why are we so fearful in those areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I feel blessed to have all of you here. And really, I mean, this is not an easy topic to touch. Even when I'm talking, I can feel the emotions in my heart. I can feel how we try to protect ourselves and others. Let's go over to Rashmi with the same question. Please introduce yourself and how do you relate to this topic? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Anu. Uh, I am Dr. Rashmi Arora. I'm from Delhi NCR, and I'm a homeopathic practitioner, mental health trainer, and an NLP practitioner. So, working on the mind body model, and plus homeopathy, we take the psyche, mind, and body into consideration. I have been working on a lot of fears of other people. But today I'm here to deal with my own fears, and especially the fear that when I can deal with the fear of other people, why can't I deal with my own? So that is why, and I really want to understand how we build up that fears and how do we get out of the loop. So if we're building it up, we should know how to get out of the loop also.
Thank you so much. It sounds like three panelists that I've spoken to, all three are somewhere saying, hey, we feel this is either biological or it's there. I can see other people, make them believe, take them out of it. But somewhere I'm caught up in this loop where I don't know how to get out of it. And that sounds so authentic and so correct and so vulnerable that I'm very sure we're going to create something amazing out of it, because we are not coming from a place of saying, hey, we're complete, I tell you how to walk the path. No, we don't know. We together are going to find how to move ahead. Over to Vasavi.
Yeah, so I am here. I think the best introduction would be that I am here because I find this topic really close to my heart, because fear of failure is something that I feel I have felt most of my life. And I feel and that's why I think this topic is very interesting, because I feel we live in a society where perfectionism is treated as a very good thing. Like, it's when you are striving to be perfect, and what is not understood is that there is a polar opposite. So when you're constantly striving to be perfect at everything you do, then there's that constant fear of not being perfect at one tiny little thing. And that usually, it could be failing at relationships, failing at school, failing at work, failing in bed, failing at a marriage. And I feel there's so much of fear that crops up in all these different aspects of a person's life, and we keep thinking that we need to be perfect in all of them. And I think this talk will be very interesting, because we should just spread that message that, hey, it's okay not to be perfect all the time.
Absolutely. So that makes it the fourth panelist saying, hey, you know what? I don't feel perfect and I'm not here out to teach you perfection. Thank you so, so much for that. Yogini, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Yogini Arora and I love the conversation where it's going. I can't stop smiling because it brings back so many things into my head right away. So I'm a hypnotherapist and I work with a lot of women who are dealing with a lot of fears. What I learned and I realized was that as children we were just born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud sound. So if I look back and I think from that point, बाकी सारे fears आए कहाँ से? Where are these fears coming off? It again rounds up to the same thing that probably every topic rounds up to. It's our perceptions, it's our belief system, and what we are taught as a child. And what you were talking about relationships and the mother-in-law, somewhere again that comes from the movies, that perfect daughter-in-law, the perfect perception. We are taught as children, marriage is an adjustment. You have to learn to let go. We are fed with so much of data that somewhere we stop being authentic and we start moving on those paths, trying to match up to people's expectations. And when you are not yourself, that itself is deviation from everything. How can you manage everything else when you can't manage yourself? So that fears are not exactly fears with mother-in-law. It's the fear that you will not be accepted. It's not the fear of mother-in-law. It's the fear of being rejected. It's the fear of failing. It's the fear of not being loved. All these fears are somewhere coming into us. And I think all of us went through it, and I kind of broke through it, which we'll talk when you come to that. But my recent fear, no, I have to really mention. Someone sent me an invite to your group when you just started that group during the lockdown. And I know you started doing a lot of YouTube thing. And someone, a good wisher, told me, why don't you connect with her and she can get you a session on YouTube, because you're trying to move into the similar field. And why don't you try? I actually went through a couple of your sessions and I actually got scared. Okay, I personally I'm a very confident person and I'm like I can win the world and I talk a lot and I love coaching, all that blah blah blah. And I said, yaar, ye to bahut, these are like amazing people. I don't even stand a chance. And I never messaged you. I never even asked you that, I would like to do this or something like that. And but when you send that message, would anyone like to be panelist? I was so shit scared. Trust me, I was scared. I had the fear of joining you first time live because I didn't know. I had no clue what, but I wanted to take that leap. I was like, kya hoga? What will happen? I resisted this for 6 months, 8 months. Finally, what will happen? Either people will reject me. Right now, they don't even know me. So I want to take this chance. And when I joined that first time, I was liberated. It was a liberation. I felt so good that I did something. I came out of my shackles. And today I don't feel different from y'all. That gap that I was creating because of my own fears and insecurities, which were coming from some childhood trauma, where the story links, where it starts, and where. But it's about moving out of your fears. Break that shackles, try it out. Without trying, it's anyways a no. So rather try and get a rejection. It works better. So I just came out of that, and I should thank you that every session has been breaking some barriers in life, which I probably didn't even know existed. So amazing session, and I've been really enjoying. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Yogini Thakkar. In fact, you crossed my mind today morning. And the conversation that I was having with myself was this: I sent that message to 200 people. Why was it only Yogini connected to me and you were not even a face for me? And for me, it didn't matter what your qualifications were. What mattered was, are you ready to connect to the world and do something differently? And that was all the intention that was put behind the whole story. It's quite how do you say, I'm laughing because I never thought anyone would get scared of me, but that's a different topic altogether. We won't go there. Yeah, why someone gets scared is another story altogether. So it's a news for me, and I'm laughing over here because I really didn't think, Yogini, I was doing anything big. In fact, I remember Dr. Crazy, who is Joe's partner and my mentor. He, for the first time after 50 sessions we had completed, said to me, "You're doing a great job." And I just sat down and wept because nobody had said that to me ever. So I didn't even know I
So I
was
think
doing.
I am telling you now that you are doing a great job.
Just
You're probably putting all of us behind. So yeah, amazing job.
thank you. So going back to the topic of fear, it was, and that topic or that stories that you're telling me right now, I actually sat down in the morning and said, thank God I connected with this girl. She is outgoing, she's amazing, she talks her heart out. She doesn't just talk in English because she wants Joe to understand, which is so typical of us Indians, translating everything in another language so that the other person would understand. You didn't give a damn shit. Sorry for that, my this thing. And I was damn impressed. I said, why not? So
Thank
this
you
is
so much.
one out there who wants to be part of this talk. And I didn't even realize that we had actually crossed 16 talks, and today is the 17th talk, and I kept counting it as 14th talk. We've actually completed 17. Today we'll complete 17th talk, and which I think is amazing. It's just like we're not thinking and creating, we are creating and then thinking. And that's how I feel life has to be lived. If you just keep creating, where is the fear then? You create and then you think. And sometimes you create and don't think. In our country, people make children without thinking. The woman is pregnant, it's her story. The child is born, it's her story. Marriages are done without thinking. Love affairs are done without thinking. Where you have to be carrying or taking responsibility of someone all your life. If we could do that and create something so beautiful as a child, as a human being, why are we thinking so much? I seriously believe, Yogini, I'm really acknowledge you here that you got out of your fear. And that complete acknowledgement goes up to you.
Thank you.
200
Thank you so much.
people, you were the only one who messaged me back.
And thank you for you all for accepting me, because you all know each other. I am someone who came from outside, and you actually treated me with so much of acceptance. And you never kind of showed me that I was outsider. So thank you for that.
I don't know who's an outsider here. Uh, which the story about that, but we won't go there. Let's stick to the topic, the fear. So, in my experience, like Yogini said, I got out of my fear of having a dog. 42 years of I'm 53. So 40, I don't even know how to calculate. 47 years of my life probably. I was 6 when I started with my fear. It wasn't a fear, it was phobia. I couldn't look at anything that was crawling, walking, which had a fur on it. Today, I sleep with my dog. Of course, I sleep with my husband too, but I don't make love to the dog. And I am quite surprised that the dog sleeps right in the center. And she's like my baby. And I discovered something about her today. It opened my eyes. I have another friend of mine who's called Aarti Desai. She's not been here for quite some time. She's an animal whisperer. And she wrote something on the wall today, which was very, it caught me, and I understood my whole life there. She wrote something about the animals and said, animals reflect what people at home are going through. My dog has gone through, she's just a puppy. She's 1 year, 4 months, and she's been through pseudo pregnancy for the second time. For people who do not know what pseudo pregnancy is, my dog believes that she's not only pregnant, but she's a mom who's given birth to babies. Yes, she holds a few toys of hers in her mouth. Those are her babies. Nobody can take away those babies away from her. And she has to sleep with those babies at night. She digs into the pillows so that she can make space for her babies. Then she gets her babies and she lies down over there. She trusts me completely with the babies and she'll come and put her babies in my hand. She did that again this time and has been going through it for the last 7 or 8 days now. And my whole world opened up because I read the post by Aarti Desai today morning, and it said that she's projecting the owner. And I looked into my space, and what have I been saying? Ever since Divya was 12 and a half and Arjun, 3 years older than her, left the house, I've been searching for my babies. Even when they came back, and I'm getting goosebumps when I say this, even when they have come back, they are not the same shape, size that they left. I don't look at them as my babies. My babies are lost forever. And she is giving me her babies to make sure that I never miss my babies. I want you to get it. Our biggest fears got projected outside, that I will lose my babies when I had, in my mind, I've lost my babies when both of them are kicking alive and in this world. And it was a very big story opened up for me. My fear of losing my loved ones, losing my house, losing my den has been so great and has got hold of me for last 12 years, ever since I returned from Czech Republic, because I couldn't hold myself together. I've blamed the whole world for this. And my dog shows it to me and says, don't get scared. I give you my babies. You can protect even mine. I don't know what this opens up for you, but it opened up a whole world for me. And I thought I must tell you this. Even I'm telling you this, I can feel it in my whole body. That's a very, very big thing. So, our fears stop us from seeing our true self. Probably I've been such a true nurturer for me. All my teachers who came home were my babies. And I looked after them like as if they were my children. And I never saw anything beyond that. So, over to Sumita. If you've had such experience or any experience where suddenly your fear turned around and looked back at you, into your eyes, and said, look back at me, what are you looking at?
So, Anu, for me, I had a lot of fear of water for a very long time. I couldn't learn swimming. And also, somewhere before that, it started with a fear of pain. Though I had suffered a lot of pain, but still I was, very fearful about pain. So, for me, both were connected because I was told that, you learn swimming and, your pains will reduce. So, it was an interconnected kind of a thing. And for me, learning swimming was like a task. I don't know how many swimming pools in Navi Mumbai I had already tried post my wedding. Since I'm here in Mumbai for past 15 years, I have not left any of the swimming pools to where I would go. Give the monthly fee and have a one-to-one session. And ultimately, I would really plead the trainer, please be soft to me. I have a real fear of drowning, and he would say, they would just tell me that there is no fear, you will not drown, we are there for you, but somehow that will not work. After many many years, when my daughter was born, and when she showed me the interest, she was really enjoying and loving water, and she wanted to connect. I took it up as a challenge for myself that now is the time. If I show my fears, she will never be able to. I didn't want to transfer. So as a baby, when we would leave her in the swimming pool, like a baby pool, she would really enjoy. But the moment, so as she started growing up, I started telling her, let's. So I joined with her a swimming class, because somewhere in front of her, I showed up my fear also, and at the same time, I said, I'm going to work on it. So if I can work, you can also work. Let's do it together. So I think EFT helped me a lot. The brain gym, which I learned, that helped me a lot. I did everything under the sun to somehow, and my trainer, my final trainer, who really taught me. I was actually telling him, your book would come in the Guinness Book of World Record, because he said, the way you've learned, none of my clients have learned. And the way he would tell me, madam, when you start swimming, don't think about it, just do it. You think a lot, that is why you're not able to do the action. It's just an action, you have to do. And there were times when I would do beautifully, but the moment I would get into the loop of thinking, I would just stop. And so somehow I realized, and I was very now it's been a long time, so every time I go back, I have those lapses, like a big lap where I'm not doing it. And it has got confirmed twice, that even after I went after a very big gap, I was able to do it. I was able to do it beautifully. So now I'm quite relaxed. And now when the swimming pools are going to open, me and Samara are looking forward for that. And even she has learned it. So I feel that my energy definitely helped her, because otherwise she would have developed that fear, which I had. And I think somewhere the story for me connected long time back, when I was a child, and we were staying in a place where there was a swimming pool. And my mom and dad just heard, like, I overheard it. I was not even told that there was a death in the swimming pool. A child was learning swimming. So I'm talking about like 25 years back, or maybe more than that. And since then, I always used to ask my mom, why you didn't make me learn swimming, because that's something we had an access to, a swimming pool, still we never learned. So she said, we learned that, and that after that, we never really gave you a exposure to that. So that was always a, and I was really feeling very, I would say, like, after my marriage also, whenever I would go for a vacation, I always felt that that I don't know swimming, and it was a challenge for me. So now I'm happy that I have overcome my own challenge and fear. And I always have only one thing, when you are trying, so it's your choice. जैसे वो कहते हैं ना, भाग लो और भाग लो. So it's in Hindi. Either you run, or you participate. Both the word is the same. So either you face your fears, or you just run away from your fears. So that's your choice. But like Yogini said, she just tried, and ultimately, worst is what. So I also took for myself the same. Worst is what. Again, I'll not learn, but this time I'm going to give it my best. So I feel the moment you think about it, and things, God helps you in that. So that's all.
You're
Thank you.
just there in front of you, reflection of you, and looks like my daughter, four-legged daughter, stood in front of me and showed me my reflection. Let's see if others really can connect with that, that our children and our animals are reflection of what's going on within us. So let's go over to Jo and see what she has an opinion around this. Thank you.
Thank you. So, on one level, I feel like I've got many fears right now. It feels like all my fears have come up and are in front of me since, not even since moving here, but something got triggered really with Quaker's calling me with moving here and feeling comfortable where we've been staying because we've got family close, and now today we're actually moving to somewhere else where I don't know anybody. So this fear of being being alone really, and not having that social support is something that's very real at the moment. But something else that came up for me in listening to Anu talking is that for a long time I had what I would call a limiting belief or a fear of being a mother. And I thought that was something that I didn't want, and I wouldn't be a good mother, that somehow I was too selfish to be a mother. So actually facing that fear and having a child for me has shown me that the thing that I feared most, and I've said this to several people, was actually the thing that I was meant to do and meant to be. And it just feels so right to be a mother and have a child that that gave me a new perspective on fear. So that's very deep, and that came up, Anu, just now. I was thinking about all the fears about moving and everything, but hearing your story really brought out this much deeper message to me, that actually sometimes our biggest fears are really the biggest learnings and what we're here to do. So thank
Can
you.
we all take a commitment right now? I hear that you feel alone. Can we continue this session for a little more time so that Joe can get company? What do you all say? You'll support me on this?
Sure.
Thank you.
Mommy,
Yeah.
Mommy got TV now to go to the Alibaba.
We will,
For that
we
Yeah.
will, we will all get company. Sorry to interrupt, but Joe, and as Yogini just said that she was an outsider. Yogini, if I don't connect to you every day, I feel lost. I should say that. And I mean, it's not about Joe; it's about all of us.
Yeah. That's why I laughed. I said, don't know how many people over here have not felt in place. So the idea is there's a song in Hindi, and I'm not going to translate it. We'll tell you later what that means, Joe. But
Okay.
is about एक अकेला थक जाएगा मिलकर हाथ बटाना. Okay, so alone we are never going to get anything, and that's one thing I understood in COVID. We are all reflecting each other somewhere. I never saw, as long as we keep seeing ourselves separate, we will never create anything. I do the same, Yogini. I get very, very scared at times. I feel very alone at times, Joanne. More alone than I've ever felt. And I've had more than a few fears in my life. So I really feel not only are pets the reflection of us, kids the reflection of us, maybe our parents a reflection of us. But what's happening on this forum is magic, that we may be reflection of each other. And let's go over to Vasavi with this. Vasavi, have you ever had deep experience the way others have had? Thank you.
Definitely, I have. For the longest time, I had a fear of conflict, and I still struggle with it sometimes. Where if there is a conflict that happens or voices are raised, I feel like the world is going to end, and it's totally my responsibility to come in and make everything okay. And yeah, so that is a very big fear. And for some reason, I've had it since I was a baby. And I think the more I worked on myself, worked with you, worked on my fear, I've understood that the conflict will happen, but there's no point being afraid of it or thinking that the world is going to end, because it's just happening. So I think fear also, the more I'm understanding is that I think fear exists when there is a lot of time to feel afraid, because Sumita and Mehndilata said that it's like just do it, like you just don't know time to think and just do it. So I think many times it's like in that moment, if you're faced with something and you just have to retaliate, you just do it. But if you are sitting in your room and not wanting to go out of your room because you're afraid of facing the world, or if you're just staring at the swimming pool and you have all the time in the world to think how it would be like to swim, something like that, then you will constantly be in that frame of mind. And I think when you cross that threshold where you stop being afraid, there is possibility. So the opposite of fear is possibility, I feel. And I feel in our fear, we make a lot of assumptions of all the different outcomes. And for some reason, we think of the worst possible outcome. That same situation could have maybe 10 different positive outcomes, but we don't think of that at all. We are only stuck in the worst of the worst outcome and the most negative outcome. And the funny thing is, I think when you feel a lot of happiness, or if you've gone through a lot of trauma in your past and you've undergone maybe conflicts or fear of being rejected, then some reason when everything is really happy, and I face this, when some reason when everything is very happy and joyful, that's when you get most afraid, because we only get afraid when we feel that we will not have what we have. We don't get afraid when we've already lost everything. We get afraid when we feel we have something to lose. So usually in that fear, we don't focus on that something that we have. We are only thinking of that fear of losing it. So almost then the joy and that happiness seems like a sort of a setup at that moment when everything is being good. Instead of being happy, we are being fearful. And I'm not a parent, but I think I have spoken to some parents and I know that I had fearful parents. But it's like when they saw their child very happy or having a beautiful time or with a beautiful smile on their face or putting their kids to sleep, that's when they felt most fearful of losing them. So I feel like there is some kind of fear there, and maybe we can combat fear with gratitude. Instead of feeling fearful in the happiness, we can feel grateful.
Wow, that was extremely deep. Extremely deep. Let's go over to Dr. Rashmi Arora.
Anu, I totally resonate with this, but that we relate to each other's fears. I'll go the other way around. Not that the parents' fears are reflected by the children. We have already talked about it. But somewhere the children's fear are also reflected by the parents. I just remembered last year in January when COVID came into existence, there was a news which I had not even seen it on television. I don't watch television at all. So my daughter, after few days, I asked her, "What's happening?" She had some problem. So she came up with she told me that there is a virus which has come up, and she heard it at at her tuition place, and she's fearful about that. So then I said, "Now what?" She said, "Mummy hai na, dekh legi. I am safe." That sentence was like so powerful for her, and she knew that mama is there and she will take care of everything, and there is no need to panic because mama is a doctor. And well, for me, that was an acknowledgement my daughter had given me at that time. But gradually, when this COVID story started, and then the the quarantine and all, everything started, it started seeping in me as a fear, which was a gradual fear, which I could not even understand that it's seeping in. With all the every time you would be talking, everybody would be talking about that only, and then the quarantine, and then everything. So then I started also working on COVID patients also. I mean, their stories and what could be done. So that when it gradually seeped in, I didn't realize. But when I got unwell, that thing had been coming in my mind. What is my daughter's belief system was, Mummy is there. She will take care of it. I just, when everybody was talking, I just stuck me. Said, but what is happening to me? I'm trying to prove my daughter's belief system. And in the process, I'm not acknowledging, okay, I can also get unwell also.
Wow.
Thank you.
So when daughter says, "Mom, you are there and you will take care of me," and the mother falls unwell with COVID, she thinks that, "Oh my God, I'm not going to be there for her, and probably I will disappoint her, and I cannot manage what she's asking me to do." And at the
I I
time,
am there for her. That was not the scene. That was that I am probably disappointing her
yeah,
because she has so much of belief in me.
thank you so much. And maybe if we work on that,
Yes.
a whole world stands up in front of us. Thank you for speaking aloud your biggest fear. I really acknowledge that, Rashmi. I know this is not easy for you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go over to Yogini.
Ah, fears. I think a lot of my fears come up from my childhood thing and I think your platform is probably the first platform where I'm openly acknowledging it. Maybe nobody triggered those fears before in me, but as I said, I was body sham, so I have this fear of rejection all the time. I think me not even trying to participate in your thing was again a fear of rejection, which comes from my childhood. So a lot of our fears are reflected from what happened or what our parents put as a belief. what parents were thinking. I'm scared of dogs. My kids love dogs. My child was 2 years. He went and petted dogs. I would not even go near a pup. I'm not scared, but somewhere I detest it because my mom didn't like it. And though all my fears were in control till my mom was in this world, because as Dr. Rashmi's daughter said, I believed in my mom. Mummy ko bas bol diya ke, mom, I'm scared of this. And all she had to say is, oh, don't worry, everything will be all right. That faith, that ray of hope, or that words of her were so powerful that I actually stopped getting scared of things in life. I was not scared of anything till my mother was there. And one day, when that ray of hope, that faith goes away, I doomed, I crashed, and my fears got worse. So, that fear of losing my mom was the biggest fear I had in my life. I had never known fear till then. Dog fear and all that is okay. That's not a fear as I counted. I never got scared. I lived my life to fullest, but that was the biggest fear in my life. And I was pregnant at that time, and my daughter reflects the exact same fear. She has this fear that mom cannot go. She doesn't let me go alone anywhere. So that impact, when you say the womb to the child, is so great that my daughter holds that fear. I mean, slowly I'm trying to remove it. We do EFT, we do other things, but it's an embedded fear in the child that, mama ko kuch ho jayega, mama cannot go anywhere, you cannot go anywhere alone. And that's the fear that I think if I can break those shackles for her, that would be my biggest achievement in life, because I can break mine, because I'm stronger and I'm growing and I'm learning. I have to break her shackles. So that's one challenge in my life. Now that makes me emotional.
That.
But
I like that because uh, it's not about being perfect. It's not about being complete. It's about learning together to move ahead. The question comes, Yogini, are these fears doing something useful for us that they're so difficult to break?
actually, no, these fears are not that difficult to break. But when it comes to the emotional fears, those are more difficult to break. For me, coming and talking to you or approaching you or telling you was not as big as a fear, because that was not related to my loved ones. It's easier to break those. So the technique that I use and I tell everyone, my clients, to do is, when you have a fear of something, just understand that fear and excitement are two things which have exact same symptoms. When you have fears, you have those butterflies in your stomach. Same with excitement. Either you will sweat, the same. So the symptoms of being fearful as well as excited are exactly the same. If you're standing on top of a roller coaster, you could be scared or you could be excited. Both the people are experiencing the same symptoms. The one who is excited thinks, if I do this and I feel good, what fun would it be? The person who's scared is thinking, array yaar, if this gets stopped in center, if I die, what will happen? What if I fall down? What will happen? Or what if I get a heart attack? So both are experiencing same symptoms with a different mindset. So fear and excitement, if you just merge them and you look at the other side. So I thought, if I connect with this group, maybe it's something good for me. Maybe I'll learn something. So let's try it out. These fears are easier to tackle. Trying to tackle with your mother-in-law is also for once easy. But when it is about emotions and your loved ones, that becomes a little difficult. I really admire Sumita for coming out of a water fear, because the emotion was death behind that, being scared that I will drown. That's a very big fear to come out of. And that requires a real push, which her daughter gave her. Her daughter actually encouraged her to do that. So those fears, emotional fears, require an external push. Other fears, probably you can come out by yourself just by training your mind.
Okay. So my question to my panelists is fear there, and is fear doing something for you? Whether we categorize it as emotional fear, or whether we categorize it as physical fear, or fear is a fear. So let's all understand, is there a simple question? Is there a gain in this pain? Is there a gain in the story that we are not even aware of? And could it be that our fear is doing something for us, or helping us avoid something, or helping us not deal with something that we really should be dealing with? And if we dealt with it, life would not be so difficult. Maybe a fear of running away from what we are running away has now become bigger than actually what we are fearful of. And why are we holding on to that fear? There has to be a reason that we are holding it for so many years. There has to be a reason that we give it up at a certain time. So let's try looking deeply into it and see where we come up with it. Let's go with Vasavi first. Why do we hold on to these fears? What is the pain in this gain? What is the gain in this pain?
So I love
Thank
that game pain. So I think fear of rejection. It's something that I feel, at least I really have gone through a lot of it, and it has stopped me from taking part in social activities, maybe webinars like this, which where I'm here today. Showing up for interviews, all kinds of things. And I think this fear of rejection is like this armor, because it's like we have this weird idea that it will protect us from basically stepping into the arena or into the role of someone who might be rejected. So this fear of rejection somehow keeps you from stepping into situations where you might be rejected. But what one has to understand is that rejection is a very subjective thing. Like, you cannot control who rejects you and who accepts you, and not everyone can accept you. You will, it's like we cannot accept everyone. We want everyone to accept us, but we ourselves have rejected people, or rejected different ideas of thinking, or rejected other people's ideas of thinking. So this whole concept of कि, अच्छा मैं reject हो जाऊंगी, तो I think the way to combat it is to use your logic. Be like, okay, to kya hua? Okay, you got rejected. What about the other place where you got accepted? So I think instead of, we get stuck in, again, like stuck in these negatives, in these rejections, and then we generalize. We overgeneralize and think every situation is going to turn out like that, because of that one time that happened in the past. And probably we felt terrible, and we were really low, and we didn't like the feeling of rejection, which is very human. But then we project that on every possible, as every possible outcome of every possible opportunity, and that holds us back. So I think this fear of rejection, fear of failure somehow keeps us very comfortable, and doesn't like, and promotes this idea that yes, don't take the risk, don't go perform, don't go speak your mind. And the other thing I would say is that fear is very subjective. So, like one of the panelists was saying earlier, that the same thing can mean two different things in two different settings. So, I've been at boarding school and I've been in a day school where I came back home. And the fear of punishment for me in school was zero. Like, I didn't care if I would be given detention or get punished, because for some reason my acceptance with those teachers did not matter so much. But then when I was at home, the rules, thinking, the fear that my parents will not accept me or that my parents will punish me, that was always way more elevated in my mind. So people say boarding schools are strict and oh my god, only naughty children are sent, or you must be sent there to learn a lesson. But for me, it was the complete opposite. In boarding, I wasn't afraid of anything. I wasn't afraid of that punishment there, and I was really afraid of being punished at home. So I thought I'd bring that up because it was very interesting. The concept was the same of being punished, but it's, I think, about who we want to be accepted by, and it's always the close emotional ones that matter the most. So,
you.
yes.
That's extremely deep and extremely beneficial point of view that you're coming up with. And that means, Vasavi, if you go out in this world, you wouldn't be scared of anyone because you're not that connected with anyone that you give a damn whether they accept you or reject you. And look at the flip side of it's a great opportunity. I mean, imagine going out in this world absolutely fearless because nobody is as close to you as your parents are. So nobody else can actually reject you in any whichever way. That's in some way absolutely gives you freedom, gives you wings. Your own thought gives you wings and the wind under your wings because you can't even imagine what that means. Brilliant.
Wow,
Let's,
didn't look at it as an opportunity. So thank you for that.
I mean, cheering it and saying, oh my God, she can go anywhere, fearless.
Yeah,
When,
I didn't look at it like that. So
when
thank
she
you.
goes out, she can be fearless. So in this 8.25 billion people, there are only two people who can reject you.
Wow, I did not look at it like that.
Wow. Let's
Wow.
go to Sita. Let's hear her out. What is the purpose of fear? What is fear? What's the gain in this pain?
I have always heard no pain, no gain. That's usually the people who make you exercise say that, and somewhere I also realized that. But definitely after meeting you, I understood about a lot of secondary gains. You know, the concept which you gave me and which you taught me. So for me, Anu, I feel that it's a very need-based thing. You know, like we were discussing yesterday, you know, when there is a dire need for you to do something, hell may break, you will do that. You will forget the fears. Okay. And you will do that because that's the need. But that has to come like a in like you know, it has to be so high that it has to make you internally so highly motivated that you'll just do it.
Yeah.
So I feel that fear is a kind of a excuse or a kind of a illusion we create about around ourselves that no, we can't do this. No, I can't, you know, I can't go beyond this, or or this is something I can't really do it. So I feel that it can be done. That's why I say, if you always tell it to yourself, it's my choice. Either I get fearful about it, or I just, you know, do it and not, you know, worry about the result. Because ultimately the fear is more about the what's going to happen after we do that, or after we face it. So if we go by, so I have always that thought process that I go towards the end, towards the extreme, and think this is the last. And if this is the last, then you know, nothing beyond that. Okay,
You
let's try
remember
it.
dialogue?
Pardon?
You remember Salman Khan's dialogue कि मैं अपनी भी नहीं सुनता, जब मैं दिमाग में ठान लेता हूँ तो फिर मैं दूसरों की तो छोड़ अपनी भी नहीं सुनता. When I make up my mind, I don't really buy excuses of anybody, and I don't even buy my own excuses. So
Yes.
these fears are our own excuses. That is what you're saying, that we create for ourselves, and then we are singing those excuses like a lullaby for us. No, you
Yeah.
see, really there. No. First, the mom says, look, there's a policeman out there. It's dark out there. Then we tell ourselves, hey, there's a policeman out there. It's dark out there. And so we can't do it. Logic loses our space at that time. We lose control of our body at that time. We lose control of our mind at that time because we are so bought into a excuse that we give ourselves. Let's go over to Rashmi. Is there any gain in this pain? Thank you.
Anu, thank you all the panelists first for the insight. What I got was the gain in the pain is the grain.
Okay.
In the grain, we hibernate. In the seed, we hibernate. And the secondary gain, which is in hibernation, is we can actually be comfortable in our scenario. We don't need to grow. We don't need to go anywhere. We can stay in that grain for years and years in that hibernation. So, like Vasvi said, fear keeps you away from situations. So, fear, what I have felt just now is um, uh, keeps you in hibernation so that you don't need to go and face the situations.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's go over to Joe. What do you think?
So I also feel that fear, the purpose of fear is to keep us safe from certain dangers, but we've really, and I'm just looking at myself, really amplified those dangers to cover social situations. And in particular for me, it was similar to Vasvi, I always thought it was rejection, but I'm getting new understanding now. It's like the fear of doing things wrong, which could lead to rejection. But that's actually quite a paralyzing state, that the fear of doing something wrong means I'm not really going to do anything. And then I end up, like Dr. Rashmi said, in this hibernating state where I'm not really achieving anything. So it's really about taking action, taking baby steps to get out of the fear. And just in this current situation, a friend recently who's moved to a lot of different countries gave me some advice. She said, you're just going to have to be bolder than you would be at home and going to meet people. You're going to have to go and introduce yourself. You're going to have to be much more outgoing than you would normally do, even if it feels fearful to do that, because you're somewhere completely new where you don't know anybody. And I thought about Dr. Rashmi. You said you were in Australia with a 2-year-old. So you went there, you did it, you got on the train, you made friends with people. I'm going to have to learn from you and just take that action.
Wow. Brilliant. Brilliant. Let's go over to Yogini. What are your views on this?
So interestingly, I was just thinking of this. One dialogue the parents always use when they want to teach you something. So if they tell you, don't touch the fire, it will burn you. Children they don't touch it. But there are some children who will go and touch and see sach mein jalta hai ki nahi, because they're probably revolting kind of. So my parents always told me one thing, and I think Indian parents probably, I don't know, even Jo can tell us if her parents told her, that everything in life does not need to be experienced. Sometimes we should learn from the experience of others. Okay, we do not need to learn everything by ourselves. So we are constantly taught, this person started the business and he doomed. This guy went to gambling and he doomed. They constantly keep feeding examples in our mind, telling us these are the experiences of others. Even with relationships, even with money, all parents feed different things, because they tell us that you don't need to experience everything, because we have experienced people. So for me, as arts was a first choice and a passion, my parents showed me, look at your drawing teacher. He's a brilliant artist. But what is he doing? He's teaching in school today. What is he earning? So now it was not a purpose, but they tried to show me, they tell learn from his experience. See, he didn't gain anything. So, okay, now I develop a fear. Okay, if I be an artist, I'm not going to earn enough money to live a good life. So it is, sometimes we learn from experiences of other, and that's what we are taught to do. And that's where our fears are built up, because we don't want to experience it ourselves, or we are protecting us from the pain. He gained, he saw the pain. Why should I see? So we stop it unless it becomes a dire need to break out, unless we really have this feeling, if I don't do this now, that's the end of the world for me. It's only then that we break out of our shackles.
Wow. Sounds like the gain in the pain is to avoid pain of any kind. Whether it's a perceived pain, perceived loss, perceived stories, and most of it is assumptions and not even true. We like to live the story that we wrote ourselves. And we like to validate our stories to the extent that we like to actually have a fear as a pet facing us, projecting us, telling us who we are, and yet we will put it down in its own den at night, put it in the cage and say, oh, morning we'll get up and see how we can face it. Yeah.
True. We, in fact, for feeding our fears, we never look at people who have succeeded doing something. We look at people who have actually failed doing the same thing. So to feed our fears, we make new stories. We look out for new stories.
Absolutely. Look at the whole insurance companies based on this.
Right.
Yeah, they will give you insurance because you'll die someday and your relatives will be without money. So they need money after you die. That's the whole idea under which insurance companies sell. Or look at the banking sector. You will not have money tomorrow, so you please give money to us and we will give you interest on it. We will give you something that you can't give yourself. We are not ready to invest our life like that. We are ready to invest money. Money has become our biggest fear and biggest, most important thing. Fear of losing yourself is less than losing money, losing status, losing whatever else. Now, my question, next question to the panelist over here, and I feel that today we are going very, very. I mean, we've always gone candid, but today there is something coming up where a lot of emotions are boiling up and down, and I can feel that, like it's just going, it's just moving like that, which is great, and allow that to happen more. Is there any other way to create a safe place? It feels as if we don't have a safe place. We don't have a single safe place in our head where we can be without fears. It feels as if we need fears, fears don't need us. We need fears to survive, we need fears to be in control, we need fears to be trained well, we need fears to keep ourselves in check, that we don't do something wrong. We need these rules, otherwise without them, I don't know what we'll do. Some of us go and break those rules, break those fears, but what after that? What after that? They seem to be giving a very deep meaning to our existence. So the question starts with Sumita. Is there another way to create a safe place? Or can we create a safe place on this planet Earth for ourselves? And if not on planet Earth, can we create a safe moment in a day, or a safe piece of land, safe thought? I don't know what it is. Can we create safety in another way? Because fear is a thought. Thank you.
Yes. So very well said, Anu. Safety in our thought, which is I always felt that because if you go outside yourself, uh, again there will be some situation or something which will you will get an excuse for that. But very important is to create that safety in your thought. And also that I would say if you are going outside you, the environment around you, the people around you, I just remember an instance when I was in a lot of pain, and that was in my class 10th exams around, and I had actually given up. I was in no mood to give the exam, and my mom and sister were just sitting by me. I would be in a lying down position, and my sister would just tell me, just listen to me what I'm saying, okay? Even if you listen, we know you are very intelligent and you'll write. And I would really feel that, what do you think? I'm in so much pain, and they are just focused on making me give the exam. I don't know what they think about. So I used to be really, angry upon them and really hate them, I would say, to the extent that, they don't understand. And somehow they would push me and tell me, no, 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 go for the exam. They had taken a special permission that I would just sit separately and give the exam. And, my sister would be just standing with all the fruit and the water. And at that time, I was like, what do they want? Are they really worried just that I just clear my 10th exam and they don't want anything? They're not looking for any treatment or something. But actually what they were doing me is, now when I just think about the whole episode, they just made me do that action. So I don't know how much, in that much of amount of pain, what I was saying at that moment. I gave my whole 10th exams. I passed out with a second division, I would say. But at that time, second division was also, I mean, I was not in a hope of exam giving, forget second division. So that was a big thing for me. But after that, I really, I would really like to appreciate and applaud them, that the kind of effort they really took me to push. So I feel that, had I been in that fear of mine that I can't give it, and I had given up hope, and that thought was somehow created in my mind that you can do it, you can do it. And they would just say, you will not pass, that is the worst. So nothing more beyond with this, but just do it. Let's see what you do it. And I actually myself, what I did was, I learned an essay in a language called, we had Hindi and Sanskrit that time. And I learned something in English about a topic which I didn't know, and that same topic came in Hindi, and I did the whole translation in Hindi, and I just wrote about it. And I don't know what I did. So I mean, I was being so creative in a mode when I was saying I was in pain. So was it really I was in so much pain? I actually questioned myself, and I don't know if I was, and instead of that I did it. So but there was a push. So I always feel that, if people around you are there and they could just, support you and, push you to come out of your fears, that is the best thing. But at some moment, if there is nobody around you, then you need to do that push for yourself. Just push yourself to go into that, dive into it. And I am sure something beautiful will come out of it.
So Sumita is saying that her mom and sister created that safe place for her. They stood by her, they took a stand for her, and it didn't matter to them whether she liked them or hated them at that point. They knew that the only thing that they could do is stand for her and keep pushing her a little bit till they put her in a safe place and she's lived her life in the most beautiful manner. And a lot of gratitude to her mom and her sister at this point, because, and a lot of gratitude to all the mothers and sisters who are standing behind their children, probably just nagging. They sound like a nag right now, but they did something that is beyond comprehension. They created a safe place for you, and that's so amazing. So let's go over to Vasavi right now. How can you create a safe place without the fear? I mean, do you really need fear to create a safety? Because that seems like the function of fear. The fear is there, safety is there. How can I create safety minus fear? How can I have a safe thought, a safe place on this planet Earth, a safe piece of land that I can call my own?
Wow.
A
That,
safe thought is mine, not anyone else's, not someone's experience, not someone's energy, my own, my special energy that keeps me safe. How can I create that? Thank you.
thank you for putting it like that. I think it's all about changing the perception of safety. So if you think safety is staying in the four walls of your room and not engaging with anyone and trying to become emotionally independent, which is not a thing, then it's not safety. It's actually you're disengaging with people and you're just magnifying the fear, because you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to live like this because the moment I step out of my room, then, or if I step out of my house, or if I step out of my comfort zone, then everything is going to fall down and collapse and crumble, and my peace of mind will not exist anymore." So I think that concept of safety on its own is not really safety. That is just living life inside a life jacket like forever. So that is not how we should look at it. And I think so perfectionism is another form of fear, and I feel it leads to fear of rejection, fear of acceptance, fear of failure, all these three different fears. So perfection, and what is interesting is perfectionism is not even about becoming better at what you're trying to do. It's about doing everything in a way that is accepted by everyone, and which is something that's not possible. So the more perfect you try and be at something, you're actually looking for acceptance and validation outside yourself. So I think that is the other thing. When you stop putting perfectionism on this pedestal and saying that is a good behavior, because I think in our society we are taught, oh, you have to get all A grades, or if you're a mother, then you have to manage everything. If you want to work, have a career, have your kids, do everything. So I feel that way in our society there's a lot of like perfectionism. It's like that mindset which is created by capitalism as well. And the way of coming out of it is saying you are enough. And I think this word I am enough, I have struggled to say it to myself all the time. I struggle with it, but more I've understood is that why do I struggle with it? I've even asked myself, why is it that you can't believe that you are enough? Why not? And the more I think about it, it's because it's this loop in my mind playing that Basri, the moment you think you will be enough, then you will you will stop trying to improve and become a better version of yourself. And you'll become very lazy and you'll become very comfortable where you are, and everything's gonna like you're not going to keep improving, and the world will go ahead and you'll be stuck behind. So it's about this entire mindset. If we can just practice something as simple as telling ourselves that we are enough, and actually just wiring our brain, instead of thinking we'll be rejected, we say that, at least I said that to myself. It's about how you talk to yourself. If in a day you're telling yourself at least 10 to 15 different times that, oh, if you do this, you won't be accepted. If you do this, you'll be rejected. Instead of saying that, try and say you are enough 10 times. You may not believe it. It's difficult to get there, but try that out. And because usually what I've understood from school is that it's the child who has always come first in class for maybe the first 6 years is the one who's scared of losing a mark and coming second. And it's like, oh my God, I came second, like as if the worst thing in the world has happened. And then you have children who are constantly improving and who maybe didn't come second, came 10th, but they are just so happy with their score. So it's very interesting how fear works. So I think the two things would be to say, practice saying that you are enough. And the second thing would be that when you're feeling really happy and when you're having, maybe it could be a beautiful family moment or when you've got something, instead of getting afraid of the loss of status, like what if I lose my money? I've become rich. What if I lose my family? Instead of getting afraid, try and be grateful in that moment. Choose the gratitude over the fear.
Wow. That's very, very beautifully summed up, very beautifully stated. And that's come probably from a lot of work that you've been doing on yourself.
Thank
Wonderful.
you as well.
Wonderful. To Yogini from here.
So amazing, Vasvi. I mean, I love the way you sum up everything actually. And you kind of, I don't know, I just resonate with you. We're like on the same frequency most of the time. So that's amazing.
Same,
So,
by the way. Yeah.
so yeah, as she said, the best thing to start is accepting yourself to come out of any fear, because most of our fears are with rejection. And as she uses the statement, I am enough, I use the statement, I love and accept myself with whatever I am, whoever I am at this right moment. I love and accept myself. And mirror work propagated by Louis Hay has worked amazing for me. Standing in front of the mirror and telling yourself I love you is the most powerful thing, which was very difficult for me to even start with because of so many body issues and body image issues. So I have started doing that, and that has got me a tremendous peace in my mind of being accepted by myself. Second thing is the EFT. EFT has also helped me a lot with my fears, and it's still helping. I did EFT or to try to connect with you, Anu. So yes, that has definitely helped. I try to let go of my fears there. But the most important and the easiest way to let go of your fears is to find someone who understands who understands your fears, but yet is always subtly, not telling you to do something forcefully, but slowly and steadily pushing you in the right direction. It could be a partner, it could be a friend, it could be this group of people right here who would be connecting, and you just pick up a call and say, hey, I am feeling this, can we just talk about it? So have someone with whom you can talk without a doubt, without thinking whether I'm saying it right, whether I'm saying it wrong. Am I opening up too much? Am I opening my family secrets? Am I opening up my mind without being scared that anybody's going to judge you? So have someone who is non-judgmental, who you can trust to push you in the right direction, because the fear is not about letting go of the fear, it is about overcoming the fear. And when you have someone besides you, it's much, much easier to do that. So find someone, that's the best. Do EFT, start accepting and loving yourself more than anything else. That's the start, that's the end of the fear and start of living. And I think everybody else has summed it up in very, very different ways, but somewhere we all come to conclusion that love yourself, believe in yourself, you can achieve anything if you want to. So have the desire and want. It can be small steps, doesn't matter it's small steps or big steps. Just keep taking steps, just make them in the right direction. Take steps in the right direction, chota, bada, it doesn't matter, big, small, whatever. Just take it in the right direction to overcoming your fear. That's good enough to start with.
So Yogini says that safe place can be created if you have someone who does not judge you. And in my opinion, the only person who's judging us is we. So maybe we really need to look at ourselves and stop judging ourselves, because I know that feeling, Yogini, when I talk to someone and I've opened up myself a bit too much, And then I'm judging myself and saying, because that's my thought, because the other guy doesn't know whether I've opened too much or too little. It's me who believes that I've opened up too much, I've said too much, I must bite my tongue back and I mustn't say things like that, or I'm being now a burden on someone. But reality, I believe I'm having that self talk with myself and telling myself, even if I say those thoughts aloud or within my head. So it feels as if we are our biggest enemies who are telling ourselves, if I have to stand in the mirror and tell myself I love myself, then somewhere I need to look at myself. And that reminds me back in time, I go back about 10 years where I walked into the gym, because before that, the gym in my head was a wrong thing to do. Good girls go and go to the gym. I'd never seen any family member of mine go to the gym. Uh, no, you had to have a good face. You could know how to dress well. Your body didn't matter. And I went in and I remember this young girl standing in front of me and saying, "Look at yourself." Between taking care of my two babies, not sleeping at night, taking care of my house, trying to be perfect, I looked at myself and couldn't see anything that she was seeing. And she said, "You look like a 60-year-old." I was offended with her. I was brutally offended with her. I wanted to kill her. How can you say that to me? She was right. She was right. I had become so rigid in my brain that my brain said and was getting hardwired that I only look after my kids, I have to only do this, I have to only do that. That's something a 60-year-old does. And I wasn't looking after myself. That one statement of hers, "Look at yourself, you're 60 years old," woke me up from my sleep at that time. But I think we hibernate and go back to it again because it suits us and it makes other people comfortable when we stay in our fears. It's not just about us wanting to stay in fears, it's also about other people being able to control us. And they are comfortable because we are sitting in our fears. After talking to Rashmi, we'll come back to this, and that will be the last question of the day. Why are we making other people comfortable with our fears? Over to Rashmi. What is the safety? Is there a thought pattern that you can create? Is there a piece of land that you can create? Is there a place that you can create that can be safe for you? It doesn't have to be a home. I know tons of
Hello.
people have a home which is not safe.
Hello.
Can you create something that is safe? Yes, please go ahead, Rashmi.
No, I feel that we, in fear or in any other emotion for that matter, but fear most closest, so we dissociate ourselves. The moment the fear comes in, we dissociate. We
Your
actually, if we can make it metamorphically, like we come out of our, am I audible?
your voice is cracking,
I'm
sweetheart.
just,
Okay, let's go over to the other panelist and come back to Rashmi with the same question, because I think there are network issues going on. Vasavi, why are we making other people comfortable by being in the same state of being and constantly being fearful?
Hmm. I think the first thing is maybe we are not aware that our fears are making them comfortable. We don't realize that. And the moment I think when we do realize that, then I think it's about this fear of not being accepted by them. Because usually we only want to make the people comfortable whose acceptance and validation we want. So, for instance, it could be fear of conflict if in a household. So, I think at that moment, to be in that fear, maybe you wouldn't even think that the people in conflict are in comfort by the fact that you're afraid that a conflict will break out. And that's not the first thought that would cross your mind. You would think, okay, they are also not maybe wanting it. And then the more you understand is if it's being repeated again and again. So I think the first thing to look at it is if the same fear in the same situation is being repeated again and again, then clearly the people in it are in a comfort zone. So then there is a comfort zone if it's happening a lot. So I
Yeah.
think that's one thing I understood, that if the conflict is being repeated again and again between the same two people, then maybe they're connecting over it. And maybe that is their way of communicating. And for me, it is a conflict. So I think it's all about the perception, and it's about understanding that, okay, this is what they are doing, and maybe they are so in their story that they don't even know that you're afraid. So I think it's about first understanding, and then very kindly taking yourself out of the situation. uh Totally, like, it's like, because I think it's like a magnifying glass. The whole world is around us, but we are focused on that one situation, that one fear. It's like there could be 20 different trees in a apple orchard, but we are only standing under one to catch the apple that falls from that one tree. So that is where I think the fear goes, where that tree is controlling us, because it knows that अरे वो wait कर रहा है, मैं उसको अभी apple दूंगा, वो wait कर रहा है मेरे नीचे. So the moment the person walks away from under that tree and goes to another tree, then that tree is also feeling, okay, now I don't have a hold over that person.
Yeah.
And the people who truly love you, they will still love you even when you choose to walk away.
Yeah, I think Rashmi, back right now, we can ask both the questions. The first one was, how do we create that safe place? And second one is, are we validating people and making them comfortable and so staying in our fear? You're muted.
Yeah. I'll prefer to answer the second question first. Are we making people comfortable? Yes, we are. And that is why we are staying in that fear, so that we can actually, like I said earlier, we can hibernate ourselves and stay there and not face conflicts, as Vasvi said, because conflicts between two people, repetition of conflicts between two people could be a communication between them. So, to avoid those conflicts, we are probably staying in our fear. It may be between two people, it may be between ourselves also, with ourselves also. The other question, which was the earlier question, um, what happens in fear? What I understand is, I understood from this panel itself, that we dissociate. The moment fear is there, we dissociate. We become two, maybe. We are not one at that moment. So because we can't face that fear, our own fear, so we dissociate ourselves. So Vasvi had said, like wearing a life jacket, it's like living a life with a life jacket. So one is me, one is my life jacket. So this is how I've dissociated ourselves. I could have lived life without a life jacket also. So that is what fear does to us. So, and you had also said that the only person who judges us is we. So there is a small, so I would suggest that if we could associate ourselves rather than dissociating ourselves. Now, how to do that? What I understand is, which I will also do, there is a, in NLP, there is a mapping process. So the world map. So if we use that world map, for example, I mean, if we could deviate it a bit and mold it a bit and used it, the person who is standing there, uh, for example, it's me. So I have to feel where in my map am I standing. So if I'm standing outside somewhere in my map, obviously I'm dissociated. I'm not associated with myself. So we can help ourselves or the other person to become associated with that person who is you. So from that map, you gradually move that person to you. It may be a task, it may not be a task. So this is one thing. Other things we will keep on doing when we are associated. We can do a mirror work when we are associated. We can think that we are good enough when we are associated. But when we are not associated, these things might not work. This is my understanding to it. So the first person is to make that person complete. The first step is to make that person complete. Thank you. Can't hear you, Anu.
Thank you, Rashmi.
You
I don't
muted.
think yeah, thank you, Rashmi, for your great insight. This is exactly what matrix reimprinting is about. It's about work which was dissociated and was created by Carl Dawson, and he calls it matrix reimprinting, the higher level of EFT. So we do that work, and it's some of it is done with association, some of it is not done with association, because it's not in our hands when we dissociate. We're not even in awareness that we have dissociated. So first the awareness has to come in that we are dissociated for us to even bring ourselves back. So it's a very interesting concept of dissociation and association. And that's a great place to be in. But we dissociate to make ourselves comfortable, and the fears may be held by our dissociation, not by our association. When we associate, we can have an abstraction, and we can be in a place where we may not be able to manage ourselves. So there we can have a deep thought and deep talks around that, how good it is to be dissociated and associated. We could talk on it maybe tomorrow, association and dissociation. Let's go over to Yogini. Yogini, what are your views on this?
So I don't think people control us with our fears. Nobody can control us. What
No.
we actually do is our fears actually create projections. They create trigger points. And every human being, again, that's a human nature. We all look out for the weak points in other. What is the trigger point? We know every person's trigger point. The mother knows what should I tell to a child and he will do something. Husband knows what will trigger my wife. So every time you start losing a battle, it's always a battle of control that keeps going on psychologically, not consciously, but everyone wants their say. And that's what the problem is. And the person knows the trigger point, they know the trigger words. We are giving them the control. We are creating those trigger points. They are just using it. They're not controlling us. We are giving them the control right now. These are my trigger points. You can use it at your will. The moment you cut off those trigger points, the moment you do not give them the chance, and when the moment you stop taking power or control of conversations, trying to prove yourself, trying to justify yourself, you actually cut off the trigger system. The moment you stop doing everything and come at your peace to acceptance, okay, I can be having an opinion that the person doesn't like. We all can have our opinions. The moment you let go of that, nobody can push your trigger points. So we need to shut down our trigger points. It does not always mean getting off the fears, but not letting anyone else know that there's a fear behind, because you stay at peace within yourself. Fears can be worked only when you are peaceful in your head, and when you have accepted that I have this fear and I will work over it. Any fear, rejection, acceptance, success, whatever, accept it, be at peace with that, and start working on it. And don't give the trigger points to others. They cannot control you unless you want them to control you.
So Yogini is saying that people are comfortable because we are giving them our trigger points, and they're comfortable firing those trigger points for us, and we become comfortable in the bargain. So that's a very interesting concept. Let's go over to Joe from here. Joe, what do you think about the whole thing?
So again, I have ideas on both aspects, and the one is about the being comfortable with fears. And actually, I saw it slightly differently as a child. I saw that my mum had fears, and so I thought that I had to create similar fears to stay in resonance with her. So, for example, she has a huge fear of a particular animal, a crocodile. So I thought there must be an animal that I fear. So I created a fear of sharks because I needed a fear to resonate with my mum. And really, for the first time today, what I'm getting is if we're in a community like this, where Anu's first question that brought to me is like, where did you face your biggest fear? And that was so empowering for me to realize, wow, I faced my biggest fear of being a mum. That it's all about how are we creating resonance with each other. And what this community is really doing, and what our forum's doing, is saying, hey, let's share our fears. Then they're really no longer as scary as they were. And it's a completely different way of resonating with each other. So that was the first one. And then the second one is really about the wording of the word safety. And I don't know if Rashmi has some insights into where that comes from or what it means. But for me, it's only a stepping stone because it still implies that there's a danger. And going beyond that perception of danger would be a different word, maybe like trust, that we trust ourselves so completely that we're no longer fearful of what other people think of us.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. And I'll conclude with what Joanne is saying right now. Trust, but I also hear rust in it, and I also hear us in it. And I also hear a lot of trauma in it. So I'm wondering whether we have English dictionary or words in Hindi or in Sanskrit, which are basically without realizing there are words put in it that we don't realize, because the minute we say trust, we never could, because that's like a rust friend within us. And it's very difficult to know what we are, who we are. We've gone into these discussions, and it's so much more easier to tell another person, because we cannot see ourselves without a mirror. And maybe the other person is the mirror in front of us. Maybe my pet was a mirror in front of me. Maybe what my children are doing in front of me is a mirror. Maybe what Yogini is saying is a mirror for me, and a mirror that I'm not even aware of. Like, why would people be scared, and why would they not approach? But it's like, really, it's a mirror that stands over there and looks like Yogini said, look into the mirror. And I'm right now looking into the other person who seems to be my mirror, and seeing what is there in that mirror. And is that mirror really resonating with me and saying, I love you? Or is that mirror resonating with me and saying, I don't really know whether I love you? And I think that mirror we are searching in other people's eyes, and we are trying to find, and we are trying to make presumptions where they're coming from. 9 out of 10 guesses may be wrong, but even if one guess is right, we think we are right, and we love being right. We love being so right that we could die if we were not right. I think we are caught up in this story, and that's where I would conclude. Let's go over to Rashmi and see what she would say to conclude the session today. I really, really enjoyed myself today. Let's talk tomorrow about association and dissociation, and from where that comes, and what is that all about. So, over to Rashmi.
Thank you so much, Anu. It was a wonderful session. And probably the 17th session was, all sessions were very good, but this was the best session I have ever had. and and we were all so candid, we were all so open. And the best part is, I could sense, when we started the session, I could sense that feeling, that heaviness. Now I'm taking that lightness with me today with the session, and thank you all for that. And Joe, thank you so much for acknowledging me. Safety also comes from a word called soul, which means whole. And soul also means well kept. So when we are safe, we are actually keeping us well, uninjured and well kept. Thank you.
Wow. Let's go over to Vasavi.
So I think I will conclude with the fact that isolation just creates more fear. I resonate with what Joe said, that I think when we come out and speak openly like we did today, we are coming out of our own isolation that we've created in our minds, and that somehow makes the fear not seem as big as it did. And the other thing I would say is, maybe fear is all about shame and blame. It's about fear of being shamed or fear of being blamed, like the woman who went through 6 years of being blamed all the time, as Anu Auntie said in the beginning of the session. So it's about, I think, asking yourself, okay, why are we so afraid of it? And what if we cannot be right for everyone? Because that's not possible. So that's the constant theme. We cannot be right for everyone. We cannot be accepted by everyone, just like how everyone cannot be right for us, and we cannot accept everyone. So that
Very
is,
well said, Vasavi. Very well said. No five fingers are same size or shape or anything. No one bird can do or animal can do what the other one can do. No one human being can do what the other person can do. And yet we want Zara shirts which all look the same. And somewhere we're looking for some kind of a consistency where we can put ourselves in or other person in, and fitting into the space is the biggest shithole that we have created for ourselves. If we stop fitting in, and embrace that we can be different, allow ourselves to not fit in, allow ourselves to just stand out, what a beautiful world this would be. So, what if I'm a brown girl in the white world? Maybe that's what is required. And so, what if I'm a white girl in the brown world? Maybe that's the difference that's required. And just accept myself, as there is nothing called brown or white. It's all the shades that I created in my head. I think life would be more beautiful and more authentic for me. Going over to Yogini, the last words. Yogini. I think she's frozen right now. We can go over to Sumita.
Yes. So I would say, because you just came up with the word frozen, so my daughter always, she's really fond of Frozen movies and the character, and she always talks about, let go. So for me, to conclude is, you let go of what you have, and the moment you allow yourself to do that, I think the fear goes off.
Wow.
So whenever there's a fear, there's a consistency, constantly, you have something to lose kind of a thing. You just let go of that, and then the fear also let go. So fear is something you can really let go of. So
Wow.
that's all.
I think in the English vocabulary, there's something called a full stop. And all we need to do is put a full stop to this story and throw it out of our window and say it's gone. And every time it comes back, we can still put a full stop and throw it out, because every sentence has a comma. But if you really want to stop it, you have to pull a full stop there. And once you put a full stop, then maybe you'll deal with another story and put a full stop there. But I don't know any sentence in any language which goes on forever, ever, and ever, and ever, and ever, and ever. It cannot. Over to Yogini.
I think everybody's concluded everything that had to be summed up. So I think I will conclude that this group of panelists is the right safe place for me right now. It is. I probably would like to conclude it another way, that maybe talking to strangers is an easier way to let go of your fears. I mean, I have a very close friend with whom I do the exact same, and we can just shit around and talk anything that we want and let go of things. But maybe for most of the people, it's easier to go to a group of strangers who do not judge. I think it's all about finding someone who does not judge you, listens, and has their own stories. You need to relate. I know I have to tell you that people relate to you, and we all are talking here because you have your own stories to say. If you were working here as a coach with us, I don't think it's that easy. It's only because we all are sharing. It's only because we all are connecting at a certain point that it's okay. We all have stories, and it's okay to talk it out. Because none of us are judging. We are not relatives. You're not going to talk to my mother-in-law. You're not going to talk to my husband. So I let go of all my inhibitions, and we all are healing here because of that. So the whole conclusion would be, this group or talking to people who understand and do not judge is the easiest way to let go of fears. They can really help. So find someone with whom you can do that. I found mine. So I really hope I can always keep talking to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody on the Facebook. And thank you, my amazing panelists who are not just about their tongue, not about just how intelligent they are. They're all about living their life with authenticity and vulnerabilities. And these are the women of substance. And there has been men over here who also speak their truth. We don't come prepared. We don't come prepared. We don't even chat with each other and say, this is what the next question is going to be. What are you going to answer? We just go with the flow. We have never rehearsed. We have never thought a second before what we are going to talk. We're talking to you candid, like you would talk to a friend. There is no preparation. And I believe plans, preparations are a joke, because that is all to hide behind and create excuses. Do it and then think. And why think even after you've done it? Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Keep taking your actions, and every step of yours is going to be the wind under your wings. And only you can make yourself fly. I don't believe that there is anybody who's made anyone fly. Yes, people can show you a path, they can tell you that you're amazing, and you must receive that with closed hands, with your heart, with your every bit of your soul. Yet what you tell yourself becomes the most important narrative than anything else that you can tell the whole world. If we sit here to preach, it won't work. Let's sit here to talk. And if anyone else on the Facebook or otherwise wants to connect to this forum and be the part of the panelist, please send me a message on the Facebook, and I will make sure that you sit here and talk to everyone, because you don't have to be qualified, you have to just qualify to live life. Thank you so much. Big, big thank you. Very grateful. Catch you guys again tomorrow for association, dissociation at 4 o'clock. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.